So the topic for arithmetic progression. What is an arithmetic progression? थोड़ा सा O levels में भी इसका किया था हम लोगों ने, but what is arithmetic progression? If I write a sequence of numbers 3, 7, 11, and so on. Similarly, if I write 5, 0, -5, -10, and so on. And I write 1, 4, 7, 10, and so on. Now, what do you observe in all these sequences or series? What about the first one? What do you observe? Yes, you're adding 4 to get every next term. What about the second one? Yes, you're subtracting 5 from every term to get the next term. What about the third one? Plus 3 to get the every next. Now remember, this pattern should be consistent. And this pattern cannot be obtained from just 2 terms. Pehli baat to ye. So keeping this in mind, just take one of these as the examples. मैं 1, 4 और इस वाली example बना लेता हूँ. I'm calling the first term T1, or as your formula sheet says, it can also be called U1, and we are giving it the name A. Is this clear? And the number that you are adding to get your next term is called the difference. Now, how can we get the difference? If I want to get the difference between 2 consecutive terms, how do I do that? Okay, you're telling me that, sir, we should subtract 2 terms, but which 2 terms? First 2, T1 minus T2. T1 minus T3. Observe the difference between 2 consecutive terms is the same, right? So I can say, sir, I can either take T2 and subtract T1 from it. This is one way of doing it, right? इसी तरह I can say, भाई अगर T2 नहीं दिया हुआ, T3 minus T1, sorry, T2. This is another way of doing it. So in order to generalize it, I can take any term, I'm calling it Tn, and subtract the term just before this one. What will that be called? Tn minus 1. Or you can also say, sir, take any term Tn and subtract it from the term after it. ये भी एक तरीका है. तो don't get confused with n, n plus 1, n minus 1. n is just a general way of saying any term. Like मैं कोई भी term लूं और उसको उसकी पिछली term से minus कर लूं. This is the general way of finding the difference. The difference can either be positive, the difference can be negative, the difference can be a fraction, the difference can be a decimal, the difference can be integer, the difference can be anything. Is this right or wrong? सही है ना? So don't get confused about n or n minus 1 or n plus 1. These are just different ways of writing down the difference. Is this clear? So that is how you get the difference between 2 terms. You take the proceeding minus preceding. Proceeding minus preceding. It's the easier way. Take any 2 consecutive terms, subtract the higher rank term with the term just before that, and you get your difference. Is this fine? Now, these are the 2 parameters for an arithmetic progression. You must know the first term from where it starts, and if I give you the difference. Now, if I ask you the second term, how can you find the difference? Again, this can also be written as U1 or U2, sorry, second term. So don't get confused with, sir, आपने तो T2 पढ़ा है, उसमें तो U2 लिखा था. इसमें कोई confusion की बात नहीं है. You can also write it as U2, T1, T2. उससे कोई problem नहीं है हमें. So if I ask you the second term, how will you get the second term if I give you both the parameters A and D? For example, in this, the example that we have chosen, उसमें A is 1 and D is, what is the difference in the example that we've done? Difference is 3 and the first term is 1. So if I give you the 2 parameters A or D, अगर मैं आपको दे देता था, how would have you got the second term? If I give you for an arithmetic progression, if I tell you, but the term starts from here, the term starts from 1 and the difference is 3. Add kar de, sir. A plus D, simple as that. Is this right? Now, if I ask you the third term, आप कहेंगे कि sir, second term में difference add कर दे. Agreed or not? And what was the second term? So was this your second term a plus d? And you add another d to it to get the third term. So what will be your third term?
A plus D to 2D.
A plus 2d. Similarly, now if I ask you the fourth term,
A plus D.
agreed or not? A plus. Now do you observe a pattern here? So now if I ask you the 17th term, can you tell me the 17th term? Now you have understood the pattern. So whenever I'll ask you any particular term, even if I don't give you the parameters for A and D, I ask you, there is an arithmetic progression. Can you tell me the sixth term for that arithmetic progression? A plus 5D straight away. There is an arithmetic progression. Can you tell me its 12th term? A plus 11D. Getting it or not? Now, if I don't know the rank, I can say that the nth term, remember all these formulae will be provided. But formulae are only needed when you don't know the rank. If you know the rank, you can just directly tell me which term we are talking about. So nth term is a plus n minus 1 d. Is this clear? Write it down. Formulae will be provided. Don't worry about the formulae. They want you to focus on the pattern that you're using and the values that you need to obtain from that. Okay, now if I tell you that I am adding the first three terms, I'll call it S3. That means T1 plus T2 plus T3. That will be called S3. S3 would mean sum of the first three terms. Similarly, if I ask you S5, what will that be? First five terms. Similarly, if I ask you Sn, sum of n terms, I don't know, it can be any number of terms. This is a formula that you can use. The derivation is a bit lengthy, so I'm not going into detail for this one. Anyone wants to know the derivation, we can stay back and understand the entire thing. Is this clear? This way you can get the sum of n terms, first n terms. Be very clear about it. If I ask you S10, what does S10 mean? Sum of the first 10 term, first term plus second term plus third term plus fourth term till the 10th term. Okay, now tell me one thing. If I am looking for S12, what is my last term? If I want to find S12, what is my last term? 12th term, but just what did we discuss right now? What did we discuss? If I ask you any term of an AP, how do you tell me? If I ask you 11th term of an AP, what is 11th term of an AP? A plus 10D. Similarly, if I'm asking you, if I want to find out S12, the last term is my 12th term, right? But how do you tell me the 12th term? A plus 11D. Similarly, if I ask you S18, I'm trying to find S18. Don't worry, I can use the formula to get that. What is my last term? If I ask you S18, what is the last term? A plus. If I ask you S54, I want to find S54, but what will be my last term? A plus 53D. Now, if I ask you Sn, what will be my last term?
A plus
n minus 1D. So, the same formula for Sn, can I break it down into this way? A plus n minus 1. Can I do that? The formula was 2. I have just broken down this 2 into a plus a. And in place of a plus n minus 1 into 2, can I write L, which is the last term? Again, all these formulae are provided. We don't need to worry about the derivation. Just letting you know how did we get these formulae so that you can easily use them. So there are two ways of finding the sum of n terms. Write these formulae down. They'd be provided in the exams. But you must know what values do you need to input to get what particular quantity? So this is arithmetic progression. Is this clear? Remember, the formula are all provided, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, now I'll try to use u in this one. There is no, but t use करता हूँ, don't worry. u1 and t1 तो इसमें तो कोई confusion नहीं है ना, right? Okay, now if I just provide you with, okay, yes, class. Now I've written some sequences here, some progressions, some series here. What do you see? What trend do you see in the first one? You're multiplying it by 3 to get the next term. What about this one? Can I say multiplying by 1 upon 2? Both of them mean the same thing, right? I can say I'm just multiplying by 1 upon 2 to get the next term, or as I answered, divide by 2. But multiplying by 1 upon 2 will suit us more. What about this? Multiplying by -2. Is this clear or not? So these are a few examples of geometric progression when you see that a particular term is being multiplied by the same value to get the next term. And that same value is called the common ratio. Again, just like a difference, it can be positive, it can be negative, it can be a fraction, it can be a decimal. Don't force yourself to get an integer value for this. But what if the value of the ratio is 1? What if I'm telling you multiply every number by 1 to get the next term? You will be getting the same number. फिर वो कोई progression, कोई series नहीं बनेगी. So be careful about this. अगर कभी r की value 1 आ जाती है, इस चीज को जरा दिमाग में रखना. अभी करेंगे और detail. So I'm taking this one as the example. इसमें भी again the first term is t1, or I'm calling it u1, or I'm calling it a. Clear? Now r is the common ratio. How do I get r in this, which is the common ratio? Yes, you are right. In this example, it is multiplying by 3, but how do you get that? If I want to get r, अगर मुझे कोई बता दे कि बेटे geometric progression है, this is a geometric progression, find r. How will I find that? In this one, I can say I'll take the second term and I'll divide it by the first term. Right? Similarly, I can take the third term and I'll divide by the, I can take the 10th term and divide it by the 9th term. So how do I generally write it? I can take nth term and I'll divide by n minus 1th term. What if I take the nth term in the denominator? N plus 1th term, the term right after that. Proceeding divided by preceding. Is this clear? This is how you get r. Now, these are the two parameters for a geometric progression, a geometric series, or a geometric sequence. Now, if I tell you to give me the second term using these two parameters, how do you do that? In this example, your a is 4 and your r is 3. So how do you get the second term using the first term and r? Multiply, you say, sir, a times r is second term. Okay, how do I get the third term? I'll take the second term and I'll multiply it by r. Very good. I already know the second term. How do I get the third term? Agreed? If I ask you the fourth term, ARQ, very good. Be very vigilant while observing the pattern. If I ask you the ninth term, AR to the power 8. If I ask you nth term, AR to the power. Is this clear? Now, for this one, Sn, sum of n terms is A bracket 1 minus R to the power n upon 1 minus R. Sn means the same thing, sum of the first n terms. Is this clear? All the formulae will be provided. No need to memorize anything. Just understand the trend and the pattern. If I tell you there is a geometric progression, tell me its 15th term. Very good. So that is a general way of telling any particular term of a geometric progression. What do students do? They use the formula to tell the term. It should be the other way around. They should understand the pattern and trend and then conclude to the formula. Is this clear? Formula will be provided. The same thing, sum of n terms can be written in another way as well. If I just take a negative sign common, minus A, let me write this negative sign common, R to the power n becomes positive minus 1 and R minus 1. Can I do this? And negative cancelled out. So the same formula can be written in this form as well. So again, nothing to worry about. It's two different ways of using the same formula. सर आपने तो ये वाला पढ़ाया था, वहाँ ये लिखा हुआ था. Just letting you know, it's the same thing. ठीक है? So don't get confused. Exam में तो ये वाला provided होता है. You don't have to worry about it. Is this clear? So that is the basics of arithmetic and geometric progression.